All right, folks, welcome to the second episode of the College of Arts and Humanities podcast show. It's one of those two. Today we have some folks from the history department. We have Dr. Pierce and Dr. Archer. You're here to talk about a book you wrote.
Right, yeah.
So enlighten me. What is the book about? What's the title? Where can they get it?
Well, thanks for having us.
Of course.
Yeah, so the title, what did we finally end up with? It was a boring title.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was... I wanted a sexier title, but it was something like Texas Nature in Place.
A History. We shortened it so that it could really, I think, be better fit for classroom use. Yeah. And my brain has abandoned my skull. It was going to be Nature in Place in Texas, a History. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what it is.
I think that sounds right. Yes. Yeah.
Tough question. Starting off with the hard things. What's your book called?
So, going off the title that we think is the title. Nature in Place in Texas, a History. Presumably that means it's about natural environment, like the places in Texas.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yes. That is absolutely correct, which means we settled on a good title.
Like, it's clear what it's about from the title.
Truth in advertising. We should have called it The Hunger Games, and then people would have ordered it by accident. So it's an edited collection, so we reached out to some of our other professor friends around Texas that had experience in different areas. Like Dr. Archer, for example, is one of the kind of leading experts on water and rivers and the development of water resources in Texas. So her chapter's on that, and then we have chapters on buffalo hunting, on resource use in the Rio Grande Valley, oil, of course, oil.
Not national, but state parks, natural areas.
Suburban development in Houston and flooding, which of course with like Harvey, you saw that build a giant city in the middle of a swamp is a bad idea.
Yeah, and it's basically drain shaped. Like everything drains into the downtown. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I've had this running idea in my head that every great city in the history of humanities secretly built on a swamp.
A lot of them are, right?
A lot of them are.
Like D.C., Rome,
right? Yeah, right.
Swamps.
Yeah.
I would add NOLA.
Yeah, NOLA.
I mean,
Mexico City.
And how many times have they rebuilt that city?
Yeah.
Right? Yes, they're committed to that place.
It takes a lot of water to wash away New Orleans.
It does take a lot of water because there's not enough water to match the human commitment that they have to staying in that location.
Well, I mean, if you look at, like, the Dutch, right?
Yeah.
Well, clearly humans are committed to taking back pieces of the ocean.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And so we were really just trying to... Okay, we didn't want this book to be 2,000 pages long. And so as much as possible, without having it be too long, just kind of touch all the major areas, agriculture, urbanization, development. Dr. Pierce knows everything, so he wrote our introduction. Yeah. He knows a little bit of everything, so he's kind of our all-around specialist. That wasn't shade, that was genuine.
Yeah. I win trivia nights sometimes with my knowledge of useless stuff. So
Occasionally,
yeah.
I like knowing a lot of things. It's very
fun. It is. I think so. I agree, right? Yeah. I mean, that's part of being a person. Right? It's the famous, is it Cicero who said, not to know what happened before you were born is to always be a child.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of my favorite quotes.
So you mentioned like water resources, right? That was what you focused on. Was there like a particular area or like river system or like water system that you really focused on in the book?
That's a really good question, and the answer is no, because I have a tendency to get way too ambitious. I drew from I'm an environmental historian primarily by trade, and my first book is just about the Brazos River, and so I talked about the Brazos River extensively, which even that was really too much almost for a single book project. And so with this one, I mean, I went statewide, and I looked from really Stephen F. Austin onward to the 1970s, so irrigation, navigation, flood control. It's a very broad survey, but I think it does a pretty good job at providing an overview of how we've usually tried and failed, but tried to use and develop our water resources.
Well, I'm from Austin, So we have the Colorado River run right through the
Yes.
city. And Mansfield Dam is like
Mm-hmm.
a 30-minute boat ride from my house.
Yeah.
And just going off of that, failure is probably the right word.
Yes.
We've not done the world's best job of managing the Colorado River.
No, we haven't. And I grew up near the Brazos, no surprise,
Yeah.
so we can't be friends. Because Brazos
Yeah.
River and Colorado River, it's like the Houston and Dallas of
Yeah, they
sports
just don't
teams.
get along, yeah.
They don't
Yeah.
get along. Because the Colorado River got all of the funding before the Brazos River, even though the Brazos River Authority is older, and it's because LBJ.
Yeah.
Pork barrel politics. But yeah, if you live anywhere near the hill country, I mean, the Colorado River and the Colorado River Authority has a lot of power and a lot of influence.
LCRA does not mess around.
They do not mess around.
You see the LCRA boat, you put your life jacket on, you get your driver's license.
That's exactly right. And my dad actually lives on the Colorado River, and monitoring the depth right now and what's going on in Mansfield,
Yeah.
it's something that impacts us all really, really.
Like, it's
Clearly.
shocking.
Yes. You don't have to care about the environment to care about whether or not you
No.
have enough water.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be able to turn my tap on and drink water.
And clean.
Yes, clean water. Oh my,
Potable water.
Yes.
No Jamestown. No reliving
Yeah,
like
that's right.
seasoning.
We're not doing that.
Speaking of moving to swamps, right?
Yes.
I'm not trying to get cholera in
Yeah.
2026.
I think that's probably the biggest issue facing Texas for the
Yeah.
next 25 years is water.
Resources.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, as early as 20 years ago, T. Boone Pickens was trying to buy up the Ogallala Aquifer and bottle it and sell it to Dallas. And yeah, that's for decades now. It's been, for a lot of scholars, that this sort of assumption that would be the next big resource war,
Yeah.
the water wars.
Yeah.
I really agree with that, especially in a state like Texas, and especially being where we are in the more western portion, where water is more scarce.
Yes.
It's an issue, right? Like, my grandfather's a farmer, and he's been through hell and back with, like, arguing with his neighbors and with the water company over the amount that they get to irrigate. So, obviously, there's the stuff with the rivers, but water resources is very broad. Did you cover, like, well digging? I'm looking for water, obviously not for oil. Well digging, aquifer management as well?
I did, just a little bit. Because, again, I only had a chapter, not the whole book, but I did try to cover broadly. So I got a little bit into, for example, tapping into aquifers and what happens when it goes dry. You dig deeper if you have the technology to do so. And I talked a little bit about, I think I talked about desalinization as well. I might have removed that. So, yeah, I looked very broadly at tapping into water resources. And I even got into the fact that as early as the 1970s, Texans started really worrying about water, and you start to see these massive, like, diversion schemes that are planned where you're going to import water from the Mississippi River over to Texas, and the Mississippi people were like, no.
That seems like a nightmare.
It would be thousands of miles of concrete channels. It was abandoned because everyone realized it wasn't going to work. But you even had people, atomic age, writing in saying we should just use atomic bombs to create reservoirs really quickly. And the people in the know were like, that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
That seems like catastrophically bad.
I mean, I don't know.
I mean, if your problem is we don't have enough water, and the first thing you jump to is, atomic bombs.
Let's nuke it. Yeah, so in the name of securing more water resources, Texans have definitely proposed some occasionally outlandish, but we dream big. Everything's bigger in Texas, including our dreams for our water resources, which don't always match the reality of what's on hand. But I mean, I think that probably is why we have a whole section in the book dedicated to water. It's actually the only resource that gets its own section.
Yeah.
Like the other ones, we have a chapter on farming and a chapter on oil and a chapter on parks and a couple of chapters on cities, but water gets the whole section.
Well, water affects all of those other chapters.
Yes.
Right.
To one degree or another. Like, even stuff you wouldn't think, like oil drilling.
Yes.
Especially with fracking and things like that.
Right.
It needs so much water.
Yes. Every time an earthquake hits in San Angelo, someone calls me
Yeah.
to ask if that was fracking. Baby.
So, Dr. Pierce, did you have... I mean, you wrote the introduction.
Right,
Presumably you've read
Yes.
book in the chapter.
Yes.
Do you have like a favorite chapter or a chapter that really stuck out to you?
Yeah. Well, I thought the chapter on Houston was really interesting. Andrew Baker wrote that one because I had, like everybody else, had seen Harvey on TV and what had happened with that, and to realize that that was unusual, right? 4 feet of water and a week or whatever, but. That the way that city was built, that these things had been happening for a long, long time. And one of the things in his book he talks about was there was a whole neighborhood that they eventually abandoned back in the 60s because in the 70s because it kept flooding and stuff. I like that one. We have a chapter on wind in the high plains that is pretty fun. That's Julie Courtwright, who's a professor at Iowa State. Is doing a book on wind on the Great Plains. And she has this great novel that this woman wrote who lived in Abilene, and basically it's I don't know if it's a murder mystery exactly, but the killer is the wind, and it drives this woman slowly insane over the course of her book because she's out on this like house on the middle of the high plains.
It's like The Shining.
Yeah,
the hotel is like the plains.
Yeah, that's
so that was a fun one. I like that chapter. Yeah.
Which anyone who's been out alone on the plains and kind of heard the sounds, it can kind of drive
and
you.
relentless, just slowly driving you insane.
My other set of grandparents, not the farmers, but they lived between Lubbock and Abilene. A little
condolences. I'm sorry, kidding.
Well, yeah.
You went to tech.
I did.
I have no love in my heart for Lubbock, Texas. Okay, but they lived outside of Ackerley. If you know where that
I do.
is. Yeah, they lived off the highway, off Highway 87, you turned right onto a dirt road, and then there was a big stand of trees.
Yeah.
And when I was a little kid, we went and stayed with him. And walking down the dirt road in the middle of the night it's scary. I can see how that could drive you crazy.
Yeah, it's really scary. Also, it rains mud there.
It does rain mud. It's crazy. That's why they have so many car washes in Lubbock.
Yeah, it is. This is not directly related to our book, but a couple years ago, I gave a talk for the History Society, one of the RSOs in the department, and my whole theme was why are there so many ghost stories about like water and wind and these empty places, and because you do have like these really powerful forces that inspire like some fear and Scooby-Doo style paranoia about the wind.
It's around me.
Yes,
it's everywhere.
Yeah, like I'm gonna need a Scooby snack, right, to like go down that dirt road back to the house.
Come on, man. So a little bit about the writing process. You guys mentioned earlier that you kind of went through it with.
We just had AI do it. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Is there a piece you cut that was like the hardest one to cut?
So when you get a bunch of people together, right? So this book is a lot different than like the first books Kenna and I wrote, where you are the master of your own domain. You write it yourself. You're the only person writing it. This one,
beautiful and terrifying.
Yes, right. Yeah, you have to do the whole thing, and it's only you. And this one, right? Since it's an edited collection, we're bringing in scholars from other things. So, there is a managing people side to this that you don't have in a book that you do yourself. So we edited it, so we tried to kind of unify it all and organize it into themes and things like that. But yeah, you do have to manage people a little bit.
It's kind of like herding cats too.
Yeah.
Not herding cats, herding kittens.
Yeah.
Herding kittens.
Kittens with egos.
With an ego.
And I mean, this was a really long project.
Yes.
Because, I mean, you may know this too. Like radio is a relatively traditional, media, and the traditional medias are changing a lot right now. And so when we started this project, I mean, it took 2 years, I think, for us. It goes through with academic publishing. You have to go through what's called peer review. And essentially, they send it out to other experts in your field, which when you're writing an edited collection, you've tapped a lot of the experts in your field, so it can be hard to find.
So they send the chapter that Guy A wrote to Guy B.
Yeah.
Guy B's chapter is also in the book.
Yes, and so you send the whole book out, and you're like, hey, will you read this entire book sometimes for free?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it took like 2 years, and we're working with Texas Tech University Press, and they're wonderful. That's been a fantastic experience. Everyone on their editorial team is fantastic. Our primary editor-in-chief, Travis Snyder, is absolutely fantastic. And I mean, really, like, the authors in the book,
Yeah.
it's, for the most part, been a really positive experience. But, oh, yeah, it's such a slow process. And it took 2 years, I think, to finally get peer reviews back. And then you have, like, 1 week to respond to things. And then you have 6 months of waiting. And you're, like, emailing, busy professors. I know May finals week isn't the best time to ask for this, but
you need it by Wednesday.
Yeah, it's kind of like the army. It's like 6 months of waiting, then the busiest week of your life.
Right.
Yes,
Exactly.
yes.
Very much so.
And so it's definitely an exercise in tenacity and perseverance. And I like to joke with my history students here. Sometimes I assign a book that they don't like. Shocker, right?
Yeah.
It happens, and
Indeed
I'm
it
like,
does.
it happens maybe too often than the students like. And I like to remind them, hey, we're not Stephen King.
No.
History books are not making a lot of money.
No.
So most of the presses are losing money or maybe breaking even or making just a little bit. They're not publishing it in most cases to pull in a lot of money. And so if it was published, it's because there is value.
Yeah.
And so anytime I not got frustrated, but felt frustrated or just demoralized or, wow, I don't want to do this in the middle of finals week. Or sometimes just waiting for something that you're looking forward to. Anytime I kind of got stuck in those feelings, I'd remind myself that clearly Texas Tech saw value in this, and I see value in this, and Dr. Pierce sees.
Yeah, our contributors did.
Yeah, our contributors did. And
there hadn't been any books really like this.
No, this is the first.
Yeah.
It seems like a unique premise.
Yeah.
Like a history of management of resources in Texas. Now, if you told me someone wrote that book for like Delaware, I wouldn't believe you. But given the scale of the state of Texas, I think it warrants an entire book.
It absolutely does, and that's one of the things I know I say in my chapter, and you're going to have to forgive me, Dr. Pierce, I think you say it in the introduction. I've read the introduction like 10 times, so I should absolutely know this.
It's a work of art.
It is a work of art, worthy of 20 reads, not 10. But I think we both mention it, that Texas is so stupidly big. No shade, but it is so stupidly big that it basically has every single climate.
Yeah.
Like it has every single climatic zone except, Alaska. Okay, we don't get quite like Canada level.
Yeah, we don't get like lake effect snow.
Yeah, we don't.
Get,
but
like,
I
Arctic
mean,
conditions,
like top of that panhandle.
It's pretty cold.
It get pretty cold. And we just have such diversity climatically and ecologically in the state that, okay, no shade to like the New Jerseyites in like the listening room, but I mean it's narrow. It's very narrow, sort of ecologically, or much more so. Or most of the other states, if you look like they tend to
Iowa,
be in
right? Maybe,
or Iowa,
corn, maybe 2 or 3,
corn and wheat, and 1 or 2 different.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna get some like
we'll probably get some
some feedback on this. But with
it's
most
pretty
of
uniform.
the states,
Yeah.
you tend to have, and I've looked at the maps because I used to be in the sciences. You have 2 to 3, 4, 5 climatic zones. Texas has quintuple that. Alaska and California are the only other ones that have anywhere near that amount of diversity. And so it makes it a really rich place to study because even in the case of something like the Colorado River or the Brazos River, I'm sorry, but Beaumont has a very different climate than, say, Lubbock, and they are along the same watershed.
Yeah.
And so we can study this and present it to people, say, hey, you can apply this. You can apply this to other states and other areas without having to leave the confines of the Lone Star.
Well, and I think a lot of people don't really understand how much the climate affects their life. And especially
until they get hot.
Until it gets too hot or too cold, and then you want to strangle someone.
Which is your next book.
That is my next book.
Really?
Actually, yeah. How do you keep cool?
But I think my point there is Texas has that climatic diversity, and it affects the people, right? My cousins from Abilene live with a different perspective because of stuff like the wind and how cold it gets than I do being from Austin, where we don't really have wind because of all of the hills, right? And there's a lot more water everywhere.
And just the tall buildings, they block the wind in the Austin area too. Or even, I grew up in Houston, and I mean, I was in marching band, and I would go out, summer band, 108 degrees, 99% humidity, and it didn't bother me.
Yeah.
Well, it probably did. But, I mean, it was not a
Stunted
thing.
your growth, probably.
Yeah, it probably did. But I moved out here, and now I'm used to the dry heat, and I go back home, and I'm like, oh.
It's noticeable, yeah.
Oh,
even between here and Austin.
It is. Or when I go to see
And
family,
Houston, for sure,
along the Colorado River in San Antonio, I'm like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, like it's the air's thick.
Like, I can't breathe.
Ugh.
It's clinging. It's suffocating me. They're like,
Yeah.
it's air. I'm like, well, it's wet air. And so, Texas,
when does it cool down? It's like, no, it doesn't.
Yeah, Texas is a state of many
West
personalities
Texas.
climatically. And I mean, heat in El Paso or cold in El Paso feels very different
It
than
does.
heat and cold in Dallas and Houston or those people up in the Panhandle, you know,
Yeah.
in the beautiful plains.
All like 7
Gotta
of them.
redeem myself. Beautiful plains of, Ackerley and,
Oh.
Muleshoe and Brownfield and
Brownfield.
Canyon, Dumas and all that.
It's the more I think about it, the more I chew on it. I actually kind of want to read your book. Like
Yes.
it's
All right, we got one
definitely
sale.
interesting. Yeah, you've
Plus
got
my
at least
mom.
one person interested in
Yeah.
your book. So I want to ask you guys a little bit about like your background, right? Like your professors, you both have a doctor in front of your name, and you obviously you both teach history. So like what was it that drew you to teaching and teaching history specifically?
We need to start with him because I'm a
Okay.
weirdo.
Yeah, that's true. In many ways.
Do
but,
not, don't have a normal story.
For me, I just liked history a lot,
Yeah.
Growing up. I grew up in Colorado, so I was really interested in like mining and the
Yeah.
West and those kinds of things. So when you go to college, right, you have maybe a list of things you're kind of interested in, but then you're like, well, what can I actually do? There's no way I'm going to get through calculus 2. So, so I just kind of always just really liked history, and I thought, yeah, why not study it?
Yeah.
See where that takes me, and that's pretty much what I've done.
That is such an inspirational story, and mine is nothing.
That's your
Mine is nothing like that. So I went to school, and part of my issue is that my major was an honors program, and I didn't have any degree requirements. It was beautiful. I literally got to take any classes I wanted, and so that kind of, really in a lot of ways, I think it's what the college experience is supposed to be, where I took classes in all different areas and figured out what I liked. But it's not really what college and university looks like nowadays.
Yeah.
And so as wonderful it was, I took a class on film and then environmental history and then the classics and then Hitler and the Holocaust. I mean, I was all over the map. And by the time I graduated, I was smart enough to say, okay, I want to kind of match the major degree requirements I would have if I chose a major and minor. I didn't want to get out of there and have zero life skills.
Yeah.
And nothing on my transcript. And I had the equivalent of a double major and a triple minor.
Yeah.
And so that allowed me to not zero in on what I wanted to do. And so I did what I think a lot of my students do is I listened to my parents who said, you should go to law school. You'd be a great lawyer.
Yeah.
You like to argue?
You like to argue? And ironically, I said, yes, okay, I'll go to law school. And then when people would ask what I was going to do, I was like, oh, I'm going to law school, but I don't want to be a lawyer. And I made it through 7 weeks
Yeah.
out of an 8-week quarter. Yeah. So I made it like 90% of the way. And my
Yeah.
parents got so mad at me. They actually cut me off financially because I couldn't keep a
That's
job
so
and go to
funny.
law school. And it was a little funny. In hindsight, it made it into the Christmas newsletter. She gave it the college try. I've never forgiven them. That was 20 years ago.
Man, yeah.
And I still haven't forgiven
Your
them.
own parents throwing shade at you.
Yes,
in
they
the
threw-
in the
family
Christmas
Christmas
Family
newsletter.
Christmas newsletter that I was gave it a college try, couldn't hack law school. And I could hack it. I just was miserable. I did
Yeah.
that thing where I cried into my carpet with the same song on repeat
Yeah.
for 4 hours, not getting anything done. And I listened to other people because I couldn't hear my own voice. And so every now and then in my own classes now that I have figured out what I like to do, I'll tell them, don't forget to get advice. And by the way, if no one else has said this to you, it's okay to pursue what you want to do.
Yeah.
And then I'd say, I'm not telling you to defy your parents, but I might be telling you
But like,
not to defy your
don't
parents.
defy your parents, but maybe like on the down low, maybe.
Well, I always loved history, and I used to tell them, because once you drop out of law school, you got to do something.
Yeah.
So I baristaed for a while, as one does, and was like, okay, I need to do something. And I was like, I'm going to go get a master's in history. And they're like, what are you going to do with it? And I'm like, I don't know. And they talked me out of that too. I was a grown adult by that point, and I still let them talk me out of it. But I'm glad I did. I went on and got a master's of environmental science. So I have a background in the sciences.
Interesting.
And then while I was crawling around on my hands and knees in the 108-degree heat of a Waco summer, trying to identify every plant that was taller than 1 inch.
Wow.
No, it was horrid. It was for my thesis, and I'm very proud of the work I did, but I'm also allergic to every plant.
Yeah.
And so I was crawling around on my hands and knees, identifying tree saplings that I was like, I think maybe I like the historical part of my land management. And that's when...
I think maybe sitting in the air conditioning and writing papers is better than
yeah,
crawling around.
I still didn't pursue it. I got accepted into the PhD program at Tech, but my husband was here, and I followed a dude out here and was like,
classic
yeah,
mistake.
I don't want to commute. And so I went and tested wastewater for a while at SKG Engineering. And then finally, Texas Tech called, and they're like, we have money for you. And I was like, I dropped out. And they're like, did you? And I was like, no.
Tell me more about this money.
Yeah, it took like 3.5 years for me to finally have the courage to say I wanted to teach. But now I tell my students, and it's true, I've been all over the place. So if they ever feel like they don't know what they want to do, I am the person that can tell them that's okay. And I am the person that can tell them and genuinely mean it. I love most days. Okay, most days. I don't want to be a liar. AI is making things hard right now, but most days I really love teaching, and I tell them I'm super passionate about it because I used to test wastewater and measure tree saplings. Like, I know that this is what I want to do. It just took me a while to get here. So if people change a major or, change what they do after graduating and don't use their major, the goal, the sweet spot is if you can find where your passions and your skills align. Yeah. And stand firm when your parents tell you to go to law school.
That's great, because how many times how many people have given up their dreams because somebody told them they could not do that or they shouldn't do that or
Yeah.
I think if we tried to count, we run out of numbers.
Yeah, it's got to be in the millions, right? Yeah.
Like everyone takes a different path to where they go in life.
Absolutely.
Yep. And I think your parents mean well, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Like they're worried about you and how are you going to take care of yourself.
Yeah, they wanted me to have a job, and I'm very smart, and I, needed to do something with that. And in the case of my parents, my mom was like, oh, well, you should finish out 2 years because the first year is the toughest. And I was like, this is a 3-year program. I'm not going 2 years.
No way.
My dad was like, well, you don't quit midway. You should finish out the term or the year. And honestly, finally standing up for what I thought I wanted to do was really a pretty important moment. It felt like I was jumping off a cliff in some ways, but it was an important moment for kind of trying to figure out what my interests were that I could just read about, because not every interest has to be a career. Yeah. And what interests, like I really wanted to do something with, and it was environment plus history, which is a perfect place for me because I am a tree hugger who likes history. Mm-hmm.
You certainly have landed on probably the perfect thing for you then.
I have. Also, I love teaching.
Yeah.
I love reading. If I could be a permanent student, I would be a permanent student, but I can't.
Unfortunately.
So I'm a teacher.
Yeah. Well, really, that's what happens, right? Is you fall in love with learning, and then the only way to do more of it is to teach others. Yeah.
Well, even with law school, I told people, I'm going to teach law school. They're like, you have to be a lawyer for 20 years before that happens. It's like, don't worry about that later.
Yeah.
we'll just a little speed through the 20 years of law practice.
I'm going to be the one exception to that rule.
That's right.
But it is helpful when I would chat sometimes with students who don't know what they want to do. And I think that's beneficial when, as a professor, you can apply your own experiences. Like, I also have an anxiety disorder, and I'm honest with my students about that too. I'm like, hey guys, I have an anxiety disorder, so just so you know, if you struggle ever with depression or anxiety or something, you're not broken. You can still be excellent. We have great resources, and then I talk about that on the first day and with my students, and it's useful when you feel like your skills, your experiences can be applied in whatever it is. Absolutely. Having a rocking DJ voice, right, and applying that to podcasting or radios or the artistic people who can do things.
The art students. I don't know what they do.
Art stuff.
The art stuff.
art
the
stuff they do,
teachers,
yeah.
or like our certification students who come in and they're like, I really want to work with junior high students. I'm like, good for you, because it takes a special kind of personality and commitment sometimes to want to be a teacher in the first place and to want to be a junior high teacher.
I'd put a hole in my wall week one.
Yeah.
I'd like get home and like my head would be through the drywall. Like I have an immense amount of respect for anyone who can teach elementary school, high school, middle school.
But not us.
No. Well,
I'm totally kidding. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, they're different things. Like,
they are
like
different
college
things.
students are like grown adults, right?
Yeah.
Like you could like treat them like grown adults.
Yeah.
You can't treat middle schoolers like grown adults.
No. It is a very different beast. When I was first getting into university teaching, I was trying to stay in this area, which sometimes you have to follow where the job takes you.
Exactly.
And I was not really able to move around that much. So I'm very grateful that I was able to find a position here at Angelo State. But I can't tell you the number of times my mom was like, just get into high school teaching. I'm like, no, two different things.
No way.
Not the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, I've kind of had the shockingly similar experience where part of what I realized was the thing I want to do basically doesn't exist outside of teaching and like 6 jobs in the National Park Service. And so I've kind of had to come to terms with, I'm going to have a doctor in front of my name and I'm going to teach something or other, and that's what I'm going to do with my life.
Yeah.
Nice.
Because I'm preaching to the choir here.
That's
obviously,
right. Yeah.
But I mean, that's tough, and like getting there is hard, and it takes a lot of like personal decision making, and it's not easy. So
it's not. You have to, make some sacrifices, which is also part of any career you make, right? Or choose. So one door opens, one door closes, kind of thing. So,
I mean, and another lesson I learned, because during this period where I'm going all over the place, I commuted to Lubbock for my doctorate, which was horrid.
It's like
just
3.5 hours.
It was awful.
That's evil.
But I also volunteered like 30 hours a week at Fort Concho in their archive for several years. And one of the things I learned through that process was that I knew I wanted to be an educator and like get into college level teaching, but I also began to see that there were other ways to get into education, like that it didn't have to be as a teacher and it didn't have to be in the classroom, and that there were actually other ways I could feed that. If, for example, I didn't ever get a job in teaching, or I don't know, changed my mind again and didn't finish my doctorate. And so, I mean, pivoting back just briefly to our book, at least with me, when I wrote my chapter, and I don't know if I succeeded, people who read it might write in or think and be like, oh yeah, she failed. I mean, but one of the things I tried to do is be like, okay, if I was assigning this to my students, which I wouldn't do that, but if I did, I mean, I'd be like, okay, where am I losing them? If I was a student, where am I losing them? And
where do they check out? Like,
yes, and I try to apply that perspective to when I'm lesson planning. Okay, what am I gonna, like, where am I losing them when I was writing this book? Where am I losing them? And that actually changes every semester. Yeah. Like, all classes have different temperaments, and that's one of the things that you have to learn. And the jokes and the pop culture references, and now they don't get Monty Python and the Holy Grail or Princess Bride, and I have to change.
Monty Python?
Yeah, so many of them. I have to change my cultural references, and I'm like, oh, you don't know that song anymore.
At least you still have little kids, so that
I do. My little kids, they have told me 6, 7 is dead, and I'm the teacher that comes in, and I'm like, okay, chat. And I just purposefully, and I'm like, drip. Look at his drip. And they're like, oh, no, church. So my kids keep me a little relevant. Like, I was here. I knew when Skibbity was here and gone. I know 1, 2 is, becoming the new 6, 7. I don't know why though. I'm behind on that.
I'm 22 years old and I don't know why.
Well, if you ask my students, I'm 73, but I'm in fact narrator, not 73.
She was in fact much younger. Okay. One last thing before we kind of wrap up. We're running up on our grad assistant. His time slot. He can't be here very much longer.
Yeah. You get 2 professors. They can rattle off.
That's the gift.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to be real.
We're used to it.
Part of the reason I wanted to interview the two of you specifically, I've had Dr. Pierce. I had him for my freshman seminar.
Even though he didn't remember your name. Right?
That's okay.
I know. I just added you on the.
Yeah.
To be fair, that was
Sorry,
in 2023.
Yeah.
Or 2022, actually.
Or maybe he was just messing with you to see if you could.
No, that's right.
Well, either way, I was like, I really liked his class, and it was like, he seems like a very talkative guy. You both are professional communicators. And also, you like half volunteered to do this.
Right.
So I was like, these two are yappers. They're gonna chat.
Yes.
Because some of these interviews, I'm just like, it's like pulling teeth.
Yeah.
Right? And like, obviously, everyone's got the thing they care about. That you get them talking, they're gonna talk and talk and talk.
Right.
But some people, it's easier, and some people, it's like pulling teeth.
Yeah.
But the one thing I did want to ask before we wrap up, is there like a favorite class that you teach or someone in the history department teaches that would be good for not just history majors, like someone who just wants to take a history course? Which one should they take?
Oh, that's a really good question. Before I answer it, I am going to say that sometimes it's not just pulling teeth, it's like Excalibur from the stone.
Yes.
Like only the worthy. And that's how hard it is.
That's leading to classroom discussion.
It
What
is.
did you guys think of the reading?
It is.
So it works both ways.
So there are a lot of really great classes that I think lend themselves to non-majors. And so, for example, it feels a little like humble braggy for me to say this, so apologies. But for example, I teach a class on the environmental history of war. And I've only taught it a few times, but I tend to get a good number of non-majors because they're interested in World War II, or they're interested in, what do you mean the environment impacts war? And then they're like, oh yeah, weather. The weathermen are the unsung heroes of World War II.
That's
Truly.
right. There's a movie coming out.
They really are.
About D-Day and the
Yeah,
weather
Brendan
people.
Fraser.
Is he in it? Oh, that's
Yes,
right. He's in it. Yeah.
he's Ike.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wait,
You're right.
as like Dwight Eisenhower?
Yeah. Right, because
That's like shockingly good casting.
yeah.
Oh,
'Cause famously, right, the D-Day invasion, I think, was supposed to be 2 days earlier, and the weather guys were like,
if
no.
you take my class, I can
tell
you about it.
Yeah.
We pulled off that because we had better weather monitoring stations than the Germans.
Yes.
And they didn't think there would be a break in the rain. And the Allied guys were like, there will. It'll be a few hours. And if you don't go, you have to wait 2 more months.
Yeah, well, my understanding was it was like a
'cause of the
tidal
tides
thing.
and
Like there was like it was like the 6th, the 7th, or the 8th or something was the last day it could happen for like 2 months.
Right.
Yeah, because it's the tide. It's also the moon, but also the tide and the depth. Even outside of tides, the depth
Because it was like
changes as well.
like maximum low tide and stuff, so they could get like the boats on the shore.
Yeah. And so, like, environmental war, not environmental war, that's a thing too, unfortunately, but environment and war, like, that's one of those classes. This coming fall, actually, our instructor, Professor Stover, is teaching a class on the Pacific Theater of World War II. And so, like, we have some military history classes that tend to be very interesting and very accessible. It's not just our World War II classes,
No.
but those are some of them.
That is what's kind of fun with our department is, even though we're not a massive department like tech or A&M or something, we cover a lot of different areas. So, you know, if you're interested in ancient Greece and Rome, we have a class on
I'm
ancient
taking
Greece.
it right now.
Are you, Dr. Ruin?
Yes,
Cool.
I am.
Yeah, excellent. So,
It's
yeah.
fabulous.
You know, we have, like, classes on the Silk Roads. We have classes on urban history, Indians, Latin American slavery. I mean, we have such a wide assortment, and I'm not just speaking these things out there without meaning them. We have such great faculty in the department.
We really do.
Like, everyone is good. We don't have a bummer.
Every single history professor I've ever met has been so cool.
They are so great, and I really
I'm
think
going to put that on the window of our office.
no bummers.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think they're all really good at making any of our classes. I've had non-majors in all of my upper level classes. I'm teaching a colonial American history right now,
That
and
one could be interesting.
yeah, it's like colonial America history up to 1763, and I've got a revolutionary class this fall, and like, I think all of our classes, all the teachers do a really good job at making it accessible, so that even if you're not a major, you may not be used to some of the like methods or footnotes or Chicago style.
Yeah,
What's
Chicago
that?
manual, yeah.
What's that? But it's accessible, and I know we all emphasize transferable skills. Like, how would this be helpful if you're not a major, or if you, I don't know, graduate one day, which hopefully you're all planning to do.
Yes.
Well, I know I think it was Gilded Age America with Dr. Powers.
Yeah.
And that class was fabulous.
Yeah.
I'm a little biased because I used to be a history major. I swapped to comm, so now I'm a minor. I know.
I'm kidding.
I know.
Kidding.
Yeah.
I glared at him.
Yeah.
Well, but yeah, you could take your history knowledge and your comm skills, right? And that leads to a different avenue.
Well, they're shockingly interchangeable.
Yeah.
Like, especially from a comm perspective, like knowing the background of an area and knowing the background that person comes from informs a lot of how you communicate with them.
Yeah.
Like, we talk a lot in comm about like high context and low context cultures, and then you kind of go back and you go and you understand that's why East Asian cultures are so high context or they're so low context. It escapes me which one they are at this very moment, but it helps you understand why things are, and that I find is tremendously applicable, especially in comm.
I mean, for anyone who's had to defend their history degree to a parent or a loved one who has the best interests at heart, I'm sure. I mean, that's one of the things that I always say. There's a lot of valuable skills that you pick up in history that can be applied to so many other areas in life and can just help you become a better functioning, more critically thinking version of yourself.
Yeah, it helps you become like a more well-adjusted adult.
Yes.
Like it seats you in reality.
And it helps you to understand the world around you. Seats you in reality is a good way to say that. And not just this reality. It also helps you, I think, be more empathetic.
Absolutely.
And understanding other cultures and other experiences and other realities and what it was like in the past. And do you really want to live in Victorian America?
No,
probably not.
I don't.
Yeah.
Well, this is going to sound kind of bleak, but like it informs that things can always get worse.
Yeah.
Like appreciate what you have when you have it, because things can always be worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that question. Like, if you could travel somewhere in a time machine, where would you live? And I'm like, I don't want to live anywhere else.
Yeah.
Time machine would be cool. I'd take a vacation there and bring some antibiotics or whatever.
I'd go, like walk around for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I'd want to come
check
back.
out Egypt I'd want to be able to leave and come back to, plumbing and electricity.
Well, I mean, at the height of COVID, I told my students, we were talking about the Great Depression. I was like, I used to get students who would ask, how did they deal with this? And I'm like, the way we are right now.
Yeah.
One step in front of another.
Yep.
You now have a better appreciation for
an inch at a time.
Yeah.
Yep.
So before we leave off, name your book one last time.
Oh, no, this is like the hardest thing you've asked us to do. Nature and Place in Texas, a History.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yeah.
Where can people go buy it?
Nowhere yet. You can pre-order it on like Amazon or any of the online places. The official release date is in early April, but because we're awesome, they said, not just us, because all of us associated with this. And we do have a third editor, Char Miller, who's fantastic too. But they said there's a good chance it'll be in March.
Okay.
And so you can pre-order it now. Free signings for anyone interested in it.
If I buy a copy, I'll come to your office.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and it really...
And it'll lose half its value, probably.
just by breathing, it's like a car. Take it out of the packaging, and it's lost its value. But I do think it will be a really good addition, and it is the first of its kind, really, to have this edited collection.
Well, thank you both so much for coming
Bryan.
in and yapping with me for 40 minutes.
Yeah,
Thank you for letting us yap.
Yeah.
We always love interviewing other people in the college and like our kind of College of Arts and Humanities stuff, right? So us as a common department, we feel like we kind of have to like publicize the good we do here, and that's part of the reason we're doing this whole show is, obviously we love the university. I go here, our grad assistant's getting a master's degree here, all our professors work here, so we really want to highlight like what us as a department, what we do well, and it's stuff like your book and your clear passion for it that are like why we do the show. So
Nice.
thank you guys so much for coming in.
Yeah.
We're probably gonna leave off like right here.
Fantastic.
We're good, Riley? Thank you.
I mean, I now feel very traumatized and not